The first morning it happened, he thought it was a mistake. By sunset, he realized it was war. Evan had waited years to buy a quiet suburban home, a place where mornings were calm and nights felt safe. The driveway was his pride, wide and clean, leading straight to his garage like a promise of peace. Then one Monday, a black SUV sat across it, perfectly placed to block him in. A handwritten HOA warning was taped to his door, cold and official. It said he had violated parking rules that never existed. Confused, Evan emailed the HOA office. No reply. The next day, the SUV returned. Same spot. Same silence. Neighbors watched through blinds but said nothing. At sunset, Evan finally met her. The HOA president stood by the curb, arms crossed, smiling like she owned the street. She said the driveway caused community disruption. Evan knew that was a lie. Still, he stayed calm, believing reason would win. That night, he searched HOA bylaws until his eyes burned, sensing this wasn't about rules at all. It was about control. As the clock passed midnight, Evan realized something chilling. The rules were being rewritten around him, and this was only the beginning. What he didn't know yet was that one legal detail, hidden in plain sight, would flip everything upside down. But first, the pressure had to rise. By the third day, the driveway felt smaller, like it was shrinking under invisible weight, and Evan felt trapped inside his own life. The HOA emails finally came, short and sharp, accusing Evan of ignoring verbal notices that never happened. Fines appeared overnight, printed neatly as if prepared in advance. Each morning, the SUV returned, blocking him just long enough to ruin his routine. He missed work meetings. Deliveries failed. His calm began to crack. When Evan spoke to neighbors, they whispered warnings. The HOA president had done this before. Not openly, but quietly, pressuring homeowners until they complied or moved away. Evan refused to bend. He documented everything: photos, timestamps, emails. At night, he replayed conversations in his head, wondering how a peaceful neighborhood turned hostile so fast. The HOA president began walking by his house slowly, inspecting his property, writing notes. It felt like a performance meant to intimidate. Evan considered giving up, selling the house, escaping the stress. But something inside him hardened. He hadn't broken any rule. And deep down, he sensed her confidence was fake. People who rely on power often fear the truth the most. Evan decided to stop reacting and start planning. He didn't know how yet, but he knew this fight wouldn't be loud. It would be precise. And when the moment came, it would leave her with nowhere to stand. The letter arrived on a Friday, thick and formal. That's when Evan understood how far she was willing to go. Inside was a notice demanding immediate driveway modification or legal action. The HOA seal was stamped boldly, meant to scare more than inform. Evan read every word slowly, noticing small errors others might miss. Something felt rushed. Desperate. He took the letter to a local property consultant, not to fight, but to understand. Hours later, Evan sat in his car, heart pounding, staring at a single clause highlighted in yellow. The HOA president had overstepped. Years ago, the city had approved Evan's driveway under a grandfathered easement. That meant the HOA had no authority over it at all. The rule she used didn't apply to his property. Not legally. Not even slightly. Evan smiled for the first time in days. Still, he stayed quiet. He let the SUV block him again. Let the fines pile up. Let her believe she was winning. Power blinds people when they think no one is watching. Evan prepared one final move, clean and undeniable. He filed a request for a compliance hearing, attaching city approvals and easement maps. The date was set. Evan didn't tell anyone. He wanted the truth to arrive all at once. And when it did, it would echo far beyond that driveway. The hearing room was smaller than Evan expected, but heavier somehow. Every breath felt recorded. The HOA president arrived confident, dressed sharp, smiling at board members like old friends. She spoke first, listing violations with polished certainty. Evan listened quietly, hands folded, face calm. When it was his turn, he stood and placed one document on the table. Then another. and another. The room shifted. Board members leaned forward. The easement approval dated back over a decade, stamped by the city. The HOA had acknowledged it in older records, long before the current president took power. Her smile tightened. Evan spoke softly, explaining how his driveway was never under HOA control. The fines were invalid. The blockage was harassment. Silence followed. One board member asked a simple question: "Did you know about this easement?" The HOA president hesitated. That pause lasted longer than any argument. Evan didn't need to accuse her. The documents did it for him. The board called for a recess. When they returned, the tone had changed completely. Evan realized this wasn't just about him anymore. The board was seeing a pattern. And the person who thought she controlled everything was losing her grip. The decision didn't come immediately, but the damage already had. Confidence, once cracked, never sounds the same again. The board suspended all fines pending investigation. The driveway was declared compliant. The HOA president avoided eye contact, her earlier authority fading fast. Evan stepped outside into daylight that felt brighter than before. Neighbors approached him quietly, some thanking him, others apologizing for staying silent. Stories began to surface. Similar threats. Similar pressure. Evan realized his fight had opened a door others were afraid to touch. Days later, an official notice arrived. The HOA president was under review for abuse of authority. Meetings were postponed. Emails went unanswered. The SUV never returned. Evan parked freely for the first time in weeks, standing in his driveway like it was reclaimed ground. But the real twist was still coming. A final hearing was scheduled, this time with city oversight. Evan knew exactly what would happen there. The truth had momentum now. And once it started moving, it didn't stop. The final hearing wasn't dramatic on the surface, but beneath it, everything collapsed. City officials reviewed the case quickly. The easement was clear. The HOA president had knowingly enforced rules that didn't apply. Her authority was formally revoked pending removal. When her name was read into the record, she sat frozen, staring straight ahead. Evan watched calmly, not with satisfaction, but relief. Justice didn't roar. It clicked into place quietly. The board issued a formal apology. All fines were erased. New safeguards were announced to prevent abuse. Outside, the street felt different. Lighter. Evan realized power only works when people believe it's untouchable. The moment it's questioned, it fades. As he drove home, unblocked and uninterrupted, Evan understood something important. He hadn't just protected his driveway. He had reminded an entire community that rules exist to serve people, not control them. And that lesson would last far longer than any fine notice. Weeks later, life returned to normal, but Evan was not the same. He noticed things now. Small shifts. Quiet courage. The HOA elected new leadership. Transparency replaced fear. Neighbors waved instead of watched. Evan's driveway became just a driveway again, no longer a symbol of conflict. Yet the story spread, shared quietly, then proudly. A reminder that standing firm doesn't require shouting, only truth and patience. Evan never celebrated publicly. He didn't need to. The outcome spoke for itself. The HOA president moved away soon after, her control gone, her power dissolved by a single legal truth she ignored. Evan stood one evening at the end of his driveway, watching the sun dip behind rooftops, feeling something rare: peace earned, not given. And that was the final twist in this unbelievable HOA story. If you love the drama, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment sharing your thoughts. It really helps this channel grow.